Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 2nd of September. It's the morning after the calamity before, and I'm joined by Chris Jack to again look back at what unfolded before our eyes at Parkhead. Chris, how's it going?
I think we've drawn the short straw this morning, Derek. The rota for the podcast came out like yesterday afternoon, and obviously we're on first line. We're the first ones that get to have another
Yes.
cast over the. It's going to be a post-mortem that lasts right throughout this international break. Now we spoke last week of don't lose before the international break because you then have to stew on it. Safe to say people are certainly going to be stewing on this one for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't just a defeat, which you can accept at times if the team really gives it their all. It was more than that, which has led to a lot of anger. There is no doubt about it being directed at not only the players, the manager, but members of the board as well. Everyone is getting it. And I can understand why, because at the moment, Rangers are a mess, both on and off the pitch. But we'll dive into it, folks. If you want to get your questions over, please do so. Let us know how you feel about yesterday. We'll get through as many of them as possible. When we're on yesterday to dissect the game and give a reaction to the match, we never heard from Phil Clement at that point. He then gave an interview to Sky, the BBC, and conducted his press conference as well. I'll read you some snippets of that. It's fair to say it's led to more questions than answers. He was asked in the press conference, what was your take on the performance and result? That we started the game really well, that we had the best of the ball in the first 10 minutes, get two really good opportunities with Cyril coming free in front of goal and with Rabi with a free header there. So you need to be clinical in those games. Come in front changes the momentum, and it would have helped the team a lot to go in front here. We did good things with the ball to create that, but we need to be more clinical in those moments. It was the same in the second half because at the Celtic end, Celtic have 14 shots and we have 13. They had 4 on target. We had 4 on target, but you lose 3-0. That is really a clear result in difference in efficiency. Of course, you give them a lot of confidence if they come 1-0 in front and 2-0 in front. It is always easier to play. Ball possession was also equal today at 47-53 between the two teams. I was not happy with the reaction after the 1-0. It was not good enough. Then we went down in the first half. Second half was a better reaction, but you have to become more open as a team because you need to chase 2 goals and to take more risks. So that creates more chances for them. On the other side, we had really 100% chances, but they need to be put in the net. He was also asked, do you accept there is a big gap between the teams? We'll see in January, of course, it is a team, and we spoke about that. Celtic are a team with this team that started playing already more than 1 year. Some guys are playing 2 or 3 years together, so many times together. We are just at the start with a new squad, a new team. In that way, there were really positive things in the beginning of the game, but you need to kill off the game then and to score, and then it can be another dynamic. Of course, when it is 3-0, you need to shut up in that moment and accept that you lost, and that was not good enough. We are going to work really hard in the next couple of months to be much better in January. You can read everything that he has to say over on the website. I'll just read you what he was quizzed on the fans and whether they need to be patient. He says there's no other choice, of course. It is a really big blow to lose 3-0 against Celtic for all of us, for the fans. It's not something that you want. I think also we didn't reward ourselves in that way. It could have been 3-2 or a 3-1 or a 3-3, even if you have a good, efficient day. We didn't reward ourselves. We need to work on that and work on a lot of other things also. That is normal with so many new players and so many young players also. Look at the average age of the Celtic starting 11 today and our team today. So the best is by far to come with this squad. I have seen a lot of good things in the training, in the games, the last games, and today, also in the beginning and the reaction in the second half. But we need to reward ourselves. That is a very important part in football. Not really buying the average age squad thing, Chris. I think Rangers, was it 27 years of age of the Celtic average age? I think Rangers were 26, if I'm not mistaken. He also pulled up on an interview to the BBC that Rangers had a record result in the last 4 years last week against Ross County. I wouldn't be pulling up victories against Ross County after you've just been hammered in an Old Firm game, as some point of solace. But that is what the manager had to say. Some bizarre comments in there. I get he's trying to protect the players, but not buying a lot of it.
No, I don't think he's done himself any favours with some of it. Ultimately, if you lose an Old Firm game in that manner and you start quoting shots on target and possession stats, it's never going to go well. No, you have to hold your hands up. You have to apologise. You have to say you'll work hard, and then you have to get out of there and get yourself back up the road. That type of answer, I can see what he's trying to get at. He's trying to say that in those moments, Celtic were more clinical. That's not a surprise because that's been the case in this fixture for too long. If you create 3 chances at Parkhead, or if you have 4 on target, well, you know that if Cyril Dessers is in your side, you're probably not going to score 4 goals because it usually takes them 4 to get 1. You know that there's other players in the squad that are not as clinical in those moments. Rangers simply don't have the quality that Celtic have. And we spoke last week, we spoke in the build-up on Sunday about those moments. Ultimately, better players win you these games, but there's a way to then lose them. And once again, Rangers don't lose them in the right way if that's ever possible in this fixture. But there's a way to go down in these fixtures, and that's not it. What we've seen from previous Clement sides has not been it. What we saw under Gio and Michael Beale's sides have certainly not been it. And this is now, it's not just a 90-minute thing, as Josh writes in his piece this morning. This is season after season after season where Rangers are not laying a glove on Celtic. They are nowhere near it. And again, we spoke just as we came on air there. There's a lot of different issues at play, and something that we touched on post-match yesterday. It's not just a case of Rangers lost over 90 minutes. It was fine margins. It was a refereeing decision. It was injuries. It's a bigger problem for Rangers right now. So yes, you have to assess the 90 minutes and where that went wrong. But as I'm sure as we'll touch on over the course of the week as we delve into different discussions, there's so many issues at Rangers at present, and it all feeds into just where this team is and where this club is right now.
Yeah, in Josh's piece, I'd urge you to have a read of it, folks. And I mentioned it yesterday. I mean, when you went into an Old Firm game with Steven Gerrard at the helm, you were confident that Rangers would certainly put up a fight and get a positive result. His record in 15 matches was 8 wins, 1 draw, and 4 defeats. And of course, during the 55 season, Rangers came out on top in 5 of the 6 meetings. Since then, it has been a procession for Celtic, pretty much. Of course, Rangers won a dead rubber when Michael Beale was in charge, and Gio won that semi-final. That was the last time Rangers really laid a glove on Celtic, Chris. They have the Indian sign over Rangers. The team look beaten every time they're in the tunnel before they come out onto the pitch. And it's the fans are now pointing the finger at who is to blame. I don't think it's necessarily solely on the manager. I think you'd have to look at those higher above now, the board overseeing where we have got to, which is miles behind Celtic, to a point where there is no title race this season. I do not believe, unless there is a catastrophic collapse on the other side of the city, which I cannot see. And I cannot see this Rangers team going on an extended run and winning game after game. So it's come to the point where, for me, a title win is a pipe dream now for Rangers, and it's a long, long way away. How have we got here?
Got here through bad decision making, through bad appointments, through spending money in ways that it shouldn't have been spent. And again, point that we talked about just as I just want to keep on the show, the situation is different from when Gerrard came in. I think it's as serious as that, but it's different because when Steven came in, we know what the club had been through in the previous years. We know that, again, like it is just now, there have been bad managerial appointments made. There had been money spurned on players and managers that were just nowhere near good enough. But there was that side of, well, look where Rangers have come from in the fairly recent past. Now, 2 years ago, they're a European final. How do you go from a European final, a title win, and your first chance of Champions League money in a decade, to being in this situation where 4 or 5 games into the season, we're writing off a title challenge. And that's because even before a ball was kicked this season, none of us were coming on here and saying we really fancy Rangers to go on and win the title, because it just looked like the squad was never there. Unless something incredible happened in the last couple of days of the transfer window, it was never going to be a case of Rangers will go to Parkhead, they'll get a result, and then they'll go and kick on. This squad is nowhere near capable of beating Celtic. As I said post-match yesterday, they could beat them in a 90-minute game. Anything can happen. In the remaining Old Firms, could Clement put out a side that beats Celtic? Yes, that could happen. Over a 38-game campaign, not a chance. They're nowhere near it. And it's fine saying, well, it's a rebuilding season. But again, that you think back to the Gerrard season, there was this acceptance that it would take time because of where the club was, where the club had been from. You're not going to get the manager saying patience is the only thing for it. Patience has run out. That's not going to. The fans have been through that transition period. They've been through those difficult years, and they're quite right to expect, with the money that they're putting in, they see the money that's being spent. They're quite entitled to expect the club and the team to be in a far better position than it actually is. But they look as far away from being potential champions as they have done for quite some time.
Yeah, it's a fight for second for me this season for Rangers. As a transitional year, as many have said, there's no chance Rangers are going to win the league title. And I'd love you to all clip me up and meme me in May for Rangers to come back swashbuckling and lift the league title, but I cannot see that happening. Just to give you the Gerrard record there, since that Hollander goal, Ibrox, it's 2 wins, 3 draws and 11 defeats in these matches against Celtic. So it tells you everything that you need to know. Other people saying that there's a lot of comments coming in. Just on Clement, just John with the point here. He says they had Kyogo making a 60-yard run back to defend when they were 2-0 up. Our players walking everywhere, no fight in the squad at all. Look beat before a ball is kicked. That is an issue on the manager, Chris, for me. He has to get the players up and to go out there. We said in the pre-match video that even if Rangers get beat yesterday, then they shouldn't leave the pitch feeling that they haven't left everything on there. And I think a lot of them were playing within themselves yesterday, and the effort levels were nowhere near what they were in the opposition team. That's on the manager.
Again, when we speak about how have Rangers got here, that's when the conversation can really be broken down and can compartmentalise. So yes, it's finances, yes, it's bad decisions, yes, it's bad appointments. But on the 90 minutes yesterday, that's on the manager and the players. We all agreed yesterday pre-match that best Rangers 11 was the one that got picked. There was very few people saying, well, I think he should have started. On paper, that looked like the best Rangers 11 that it could have been fielded, and it looked like the best Rangers 11 to go and potentially get a result. The manager spoke a lot in his presser about that first 10 minutes. I thought the first 10 minutes, they were good. Now, the press was good. They had a bit more about them, also created those chances. But that then feeds into the fear you have about this team when you don't take those chances, when the slightest bit of adversity. And even though the first Celtic goal didn't count because of the offside decision, you almost felt as soon as that went in, Rangers are not coming back from that, because even though they got away with it, it still looked like it weighed them down and it got to them. Thought, well, actually, Celtic are quite good and they can slice through us so easily. They can score a goal like that, and it's no surprise that within minutes Celtic then score, and as soon as it goes 1-0, there's no way back from Rangers, and it's a set-up issue, it's a mentality issue, it's a quality issue, and that's where in this huge conversation about where Rangers are, that's where the manager has to take his share of the blame. That's where the players have to take their share of the blame. And it's a team issue, it's a squad issue, it's a management issue at that stage.
Yeah, leadership issue as well. We know who the captain is, James Tavernier. Another day to forget for him in these fixtures. We said prior in numerous videos before that Celtic would target Rangers' right-hand side, and they did do so. Maida has him on toast in these games. He's not got the legs anymore. Homer with the point says, Sterling made no difference to midfield. Get him back at right back and drop Tav. Said in the post-match reaction video, Chris, the manager's got a big decision to make on James Tavernier. He has to drop him. His form is nowhere near good enough to start in this Rangers team. I don't care if he's got the armband or not. He simply cannot play in this team at the moment. Now, we were all thinking in the summer he'd be heading off to pastures new. I think that would have been a good move for him at that juncture in his career. He's just, whether he's not solely at fault for Old Firm defeats, but people look to him because he is the captain of Rangers, and rightly so. At this moment in time, Rangers cannot persevere with this guy at right back. It's as much as I've loved Tav during his time at Rangers. He's been a terrific servant, but we need to move on.
Ultimately, Rangers need better, and that's not just in that right back position. That's right across this squad. The comment of drop Tav and put Sterling in there. We've still not seen enough of Dujon Sterling at right back to suggest that he's going to be a proper, fully fledged answer in that position. Yes, he was signed by Michael Beale last summer, and we all knew that he played at full back. He could play right, he can play left, he can play as part of a three, he can play in midfield as he then showed, he can play wide as he then showed. We've still not seen enough of it. He's not had that continuous run of games to suggest he will be the next Rangers right back for the coming seasons. People at the club at the start of the season were saying that's his position, that's where we see him. Well, that's fine. If that's where you see him, then now's your chance. Now's your opportunity to go and prove it. Because as you say, Tav is bang out of form, has looked leggy, has looked off it, has looked slow, lackadaisical since the first time that we saw him in pre-season. He obviously missed a chunk of that pre-season before then coming back. Has never looked like he'd be able to catch up. And once again, it just looks like the weight of the world is on his shoulders. And at some point, you almost have to save him from himself, just because it would be a big call to go and drop the captain. Like someone who's been there for that long, who has done what he has done in a positive sense. If we think of the positives, it's a big call to drop James Tavernier. Managers are paid to make big calls. That's why Clement is there. That's what he's paid for. Ultimately, he needs to make that big call. That's not to say that he drops Tav and he never plays for the team again, and his Rangers career ends at Parkhead. But we need to see what Dujon Sterling can do at right back. The manager has to make that call. It's not going to be a case of Tav can play himself into form, and certainly in these Old Firm games, there's too much scar tissue there now. Too much has gone on. As you said, you mentioned it pre-match. We knew what Celtic were going to do. We knew the areas they were going to target. They did it on the other side of Shefty as well, unsurprisingly. But Tav is just such a figure to target in these fixtures now for the fans, for the players, for the manager. Tactically, it has to be addressed. He cannot play 50, 60 games again this season. That's part of the problem why he's in this situation, because he has had to do that for so long. Ultimately, Rangers should have made a bigger call in the summer. They should have moved him on, and a new right back should have been brought in. But there's different issues within that. Also, they're trying to redo so many different parts of this squad. They weren't able to do that. If they had another midfielder, then I think that makes it easier for Sterling to go in at right back. But we need to know now, is Dujon Sterling the answer at right back? Because if he's not, come January, that's one of the first deals that has to be done, and certainly come next summer, it has to be looked at. But it's what damage is done in between now and then.
Well, if he's not, then we've got the boyfriend on deadline day, Nana, from Feyenoord, that we've not seen. He was on the bench, of course, yesterday. So that is another option for the manager. But he has to drop him. There's no two ways about it for me. And that is on the manager. That one. Lots of other players coming in for criticism, quite rightly. Jan says, new signings look terrible. Proper looks a bomb scare. Of the new signings, four started again for the Old Firm debutants. Connor Barron Probably at fault for a couple of the goals. He was running. He was trying hard, of course, but the match just sort of swallowed him up. He'll learn from that, I am sure. Jefte, I thought, was decent enough. I thought the booking was very harsh in the first half for him. But I don't have any qualms about Jefte. I think he'll be a good player for Rangers. Diamandi, we touched on yesterday. Poor from him yesterday, and we need to see more from him in the middle of the park. Who else was there? Czerny was disappointing, Chris, over on the right-hand side. I mean, he's brought in... we touched on it prior that he's enjoyed a night at Parkhead before, and we want to see that Czerny. But he almost looked like a Nuno Capuccio-esque sort of player over on that right-hand side. Just one-dimensional, one-paced, and Rangers need more. Proper. Jury's out on whether he's a better option than Ben Davies for me. I think he was sort of surprised everyone when Rangers went out and bought him from FC20, but that was thanks to Andries Ulderlink, who knew about a clause in his contract to get him on the cheap, but he never had the best of games yesterday. John Souttar never had the best of games, but probably better of the two centre-halves. The centre-back positions are a major concern for me, but Proper, what do you make of him yesterday?
I thought he was really poor. Didn't think he was at the level. Now, we spoke about the new signings pre-match and how will they handle the atmosphere and the occasion. How will they handle that step up in class from what they have played so far this season? And I said that Proper shouldn't be overawed by the occasion. That didn't guarantee that he would play well, and he certainly didn't play well. Now the Kyogo goal, I'm not really sure what he's trying to do. No, when he signed, Josh spoke a lot about how he likes to kind of move into the pitch, how he likes to come forward, but he was retreating and going backwards and had no idea what he was trying to do at all. That centre half area, how long has that been a problem for? How long have so many areas of this team been a problem for? I think you can certainly point fingers at the goalkeeper for aspects of it as well. And again, it comes down to quality. Do Rangers have better players than Celtic? No. Are they going to therefore have a better team? No. And so that's where. But again, come back to the point. People were not saying Proper shouldn't have started before the game. That was, I said, the manager, I think, picked the right team. He then has to rely on the players playing at the required level, and just so many of them didn't. We mentioned Diamandi yesterday as well. It's hard to go through that side and find somebody that actually did their job, that stood up, that did everything that had been asked of them. You cannot win Old Firm games with 2 or 3 players not being at it. Never mind almost all of them. And when those mistakes have been made defensively. Now, again, there was comments earlier on after you read the quote about the manager saying it could have been 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. Rangers could have lost by 4 or 5 yesterday. And if it had been, that then becomes a terrible afternoon. Almost becomes one that no matter what excuses you make, no matter how you just can't spin your way out of a 5-0 Old Firm defeat. I think Clement has been lucky on a couple of occasions now that he's not been on the end of one of those results.
Yes, I agree with you there with that one. Let's talk about another player then, and that is the goalkeeper, Chris. Jack Butland coming in for some criticism. Neil McLean with a point of concerns about Butland now. He's not looked good this season. His form has really gone downhill ever since probably when he get snubbed for the England squad. Remember when Gareth Southgate was up for the 3-3 game at Ibrox, never get called up, wasn't part of the 4 goalkeepers for the games prior to the Euros, and he has looked a shadow of the player that arrived at Rangers at the start of last season. Chris, what do Rangers do about this? Is something that isn't new. I used to cover a lot of Stoke City when he was a goalkeeper, incidentally, and he was brilliant to begin with. Picked up an injury, he came back from that, and he was not the same player again. It was sort of Jekyll and Hyde from him, and I fear that we are getting that at Rangers as well. Should Liam Kelly be knocking on the manager's door and asking for an opportunity?
if Liam Kelly's the answer, I'm not really sure what the question is, to be honest. We said when Kelly came in that he was there as a squad backup. He's a guy to play early rounds of the Scottish Cup and to step in the worst case scenario that Butland is injured. Liam Kelly, with all respect, is not a Rangers. He's not a Rangers number one. They do have a problem with Butland. Someone actually pointed out to me a couple of weeks ago, speaking to someone at Hampden ahead of one of the games there, and they highlighted this issue that Butland seems to have a shots to his left-hand side. It's something that I'd never picked up on before. You then see that one again yesterday, similar type of issue, similar type of area, and I'm going to have to go back and look at the goals that he's conceded to see how big an issue this actually is. But just interesting that it got pointed out to me a couple of weeks ago, and since then you almost get look for these things. Of course, it then comes up in the biggest game of all. Unfortunately, I don't think he has been as solid this season as he was at the start of last season. Has not looked the same goalkeeper. Now, of course, if the form was to continue, like we've discussed with James Tavernier, no one should be undroppable. No one is bigger than this team. No one is bigger than this club. No one should be guaranteed their place. But you know that at their best levels, you know that Jack Butland is a better goalkeeper than Liam Kelly. There's now this thing of, well, we should have sold Butland in the summer. No one was saying that at 5 to 11 on Friday night. No one was saying we should have taken 8 million, 10 million for Jack Butland.
Who's bidding that anyway?
That is the other issue. I made that point in a debrief with one of my colleagues yesterday afternoon. Since the Forest bid, there's been very, very few actually murmurings of interest in Jack Butland. So what are other people down south seeing that perhaps we overlooked or we didn't see? I think Josh will be able to tell us better on this, but I think the stats from the second half of last season, certainly the final third of last season, point to this kind of decline in Jack Butland not overperforming as it perhaps did in the first half, and that's a problem, because if you don't have a goalkeeper that's at it, you're not going to have a successful side. So Rangers do have a problem there, but I think he will be given the chance to play himself back into form, because ultimately I don't think Liam Kelly is the man that you would have as Rangers number one. A very good squad option, great to have around the club. He's said that when we spoke to him in the summer. He knew what he was signing up for. He knew he was signing up to be the backup and to take his chance if it ever came around, or to take his chance if he's ever required. I don't think he even believed that he was coming in to be Rangers number one. And ultimately, I think if Rangers do make a decision on Jack Butland, Kelly is not really the long-term answer there.
Like to have it would be a big call from the manager, but we've reached the stage now where it's he needs to make these calls, or else it only leads to one outcome, unfortunately. And we have seen that the previous managers going down that road and being dismissed. So it's going to be a long fortnight before the next game for him to stew over mistakes and things that he should have done, and decisions and players that he should have picked. But that was why he is paid the money. And recently signed that new improved deal as well. So, Rangers very much putting their trust in Philip Clement to get this right. Just on Butland, he was speaking to Rangers TV after the game yesterday. He says, it's sickening, to be honest. We made a good start to the game, created some good early chances and showed some confidence on the ball to create things, but we didn't get an early goal that would do something for us here. When you give away opportunities from scenarios that we are in control of, they take them, and we are trying to find a way back into the game. So it hurts, and we're all disappointed in there, none more so than me. We've got a couple of weeks to dwell on this now, which is not going to be easy, but we need to get back out in the pitch and get a win and learn from today. I don't want it to become familiar, as it's doing my head in, to be honest, because I know what we can do. There is enough in this squad to get results, but we are not giving ourselves the best opportunities to do that. That is on all of us, so we have to look at it and get better for it. I'm sure the fans are as frustrated as we are. You better believe that the fans are reaching. I mean, it's fever pitch now. We've seen the reception. Don't condone this. The manager and the players got outside at Ibrox. Chris, we don't want to see players and the manager confronted in that way, but I can totally understand the anger amongst the fan base. They have had enough.
They do, because as I mentioned earlier on, they've been through this for so long now. They've been through the hard years, working their way back up through divisions. They've been through the hard years when Rangers got back into the top flight with a team and a management team that were ill-equipped for the job. They've then had the better times under Steven Gerrard. They've had the title win. They've had the cup wins. They've had the European final. And since that, they've then gone back the way. Rangers have regressed rather than progressed. And the fans are right to say, actually, we've done our bit. We've put our money in. We've been there through thick and thin. We are entitled to expect and demand and ask for better. The scenes that we've seen on social media videos and pictures and stuff, that's not going to do MD any good. Going to confront the manager outside Ibrox, or shouting at Tavernier, or berating players as they're making their way back to their car, that's not going to do anything. That's not going to. It's not going to drive standards. It's not going to make them feel any better. It's not going to help. As we've said, over the course of the show, so many different things that are wrong at Rangers right now, and that's why people are so fed up, because you've got people questioning Edmiston House, you've got people questioning why we're not playing at Ibrox, you've got people questioning the manager, the players, the transfer strategy, the chairman, no chief exec. There's so many issues at play that people, they just want an outlet for the frustration. They just want to shout at someone, but shouting at the manager and the players on the street, that's not going to be conducive. That's not going to help. But I think that's the stage that some people are at. Unfortunately, we know we'll be back at Ibrox watching the games by the end of this month. The mood around the place is going to be very, very interesting come those fixtures.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be, and it's going to be a long week as we just analyse and dissect every part of what is going wrong at Rangers at this moment in time. Like you say, Chris, is a myriad of reasons at this point why Rangers are so far behind Celtic. It defies belief, but that is where we are. We'll wrap up for today, folks. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in as ever. That piece by Joshua, I'll stick the link in the description below this video so you can have a read of that. But big thanks to Chris. We will be doing it for those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members. Myself, I'll be joined by Ali from America on Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. So we hope you can join us for that. Get your questions in. I imagine we will be inundated with questions. But the Q&A tomorrow. There'll be another number of wee videos as well for those of you that are subscribers on the Extra channel. So that'll do us for now. Enjoy your Monday if you can, and we'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.